Greetings, guys. Today we're going to talk about Harold Bloom and the anxiety of influence. Actually, before we start, I just would like to tell you that he's an American critic and he is the most influential in the 21st century. Now, Bloom argues on the anxiety of influence for the superiority of giants, as for example, Shakespeare, Chaucer, and Kafka. Now, this is the analogy to divinity, as we say. Now, he examines also the idea of influence among poets by examining romantic and post romantic poetry. How it goes like, for example, how one poet helps to form the other, and how literary texts, let's say, evoke a practical criticism. And every student takes something from his teacher, and that defines the anxiety of influence. Actually, he relies on Freud's Oedipus complex to see the relationship between the poets and the precursors. Now, for Bloom, anxiety of influence is an unconscious act, and it's very positive and lead for successful literary works. Whereas Freud calls for family romance, the child dreams of a parent of higher social standing than the actual parents, and then becomes sexual and negative. Bloom actually relies on that. According to Bloom, one poet derives, let's say, or let's be more accurate and say, like, deviates from another in six revisionary movements. We're going to talk about this after a couple of minutes. So, poetry is the production of later poets' responses to their predecessors' works and misreading, of course, of those previous works. Now, actually, for Bloom, he provides a theory of poetry dependent on the idea of influence and differ from intertextuality. Reading and appreciation of earlier works, and when he, for example, reaches a point of disagreement, he should depart. So Freudian terms, like the father, called it the myth or the Oedipus. Now the child overcome his father. For example, one generation of poets overcome the previous ones and make a place for themselves. For Bloom, he takes the Oedipus complex of Freud and he creates his own formula. Influence happens in the subconscious and you can, for example, escape it. Now, if we want to make such kind of comparison between Bloom and Freud, we can say that Bloom, he takes on the intellectual influence, while Freud, for example, focuses on instincts and sexuality. For Freud, he's very pessimistic and dark, while, for example, Bloom is positive and the influence is subconscious. So they produce new consciousness when, let's say, which someone will be influenced by subconscious. Later, nothing is original. So Bloom arrives at a set of six revisionary ratios, as we have mentioned before a couple of minutes, that delineate the development of an author's relationship to his predecessor's text and anxiety to it. Actually, all literary creation results from the struggle of younger generation to free themselves from the influence of their forebears. We came to the end of the anxiety of influence. Hope that you get benefit from it. Thank you for your listening.